Well, it's been a minute, but I'm coming back with another top 10 video, and I'm going to be talking about something that a lot of people on my side of the pond talk about on BookTube. You know them, you love them. Indie books. Yeah, I'm going to be talking a lot about indie books today, and I'm going to be tagging some of the people on this list because some of them are quite friendly with me, and I've enjoyed their company. But also, I do think that indie books need all the engagement that they can get because, being an indie author is kind of hard. It's quite hard from what I've heard. It's not as much of a guarantee as it is in TradPub, which, I mean, even with TradPub, it's kind of hard too, but, And also, maybe I could get some free books out of it. You know how it is. So, yeah, if you guys watch this, if you guys watch this, just, hit me up at some Okie Dude. Just give me the free books. It's all good. Just give me some free books. Hello, everyone. Britton here, also known as Some Okie Dude, and as I mentioned in the intro, I am going to be talking about some indie fantasy stuff. As a matter of fact, the top 10 indie fantasy series that I would like to read before too long. I've been wanting to dip my toes a little more into the indie fantasy sphere, and I have been dipping my toe a little bit. I've covered some stuff such as the Adan trilogy from Philip Chase and the Hybrid Helix series from Joe Byrne, good friend of mine. There have been a couple other books like Phased and Thrice and Dark Bloom that I've covered, but overall, I've been kind of struggling to find some time to do some indie reading because, as J.R.R. Tolkien once wrote, he who reads must choose. So, yeah, these are the top 10 indie fantasy series that I would like to read before too long. So, yeah, I watched my good friend Samwise's video from Samwise, where he talked about 10 indie fantasy novels he would like to try before too long, and I decided to do something a little similar. I really liked his video. I'll link it down below if you guys want to watch it, but these are series in particular that I thought would be really fun for me to read because these have really latched on to me as ones that I would like to read before too long. These are ones that have really gotten my attention, rather it be from word of mouth, the concept sounds really cool, or I've already read some of the books that some of these people have read, or I have communicated with them before, and they really sold me on the series that they're doing. So, yeah, hopefully I will go into it, and hopefully you guys will enjoy. But before I get into it, a few ground rules. I'm not going to be doing any standalones, so sorry, Philip Chase. I'm not going to mention While Darkness Gathers, though I do want to read that book at some point, so don't worry, Philip. I'll get to it. There's some standalones I'm not going to get into. Also, this won't have sci-fi or horror in it, so sorry to the people who write indie sci-fi and horror, though I am not against doing a indie sci-fi and horror that I would like to read, maybe separate videos at another point. So if you guys want to see that, let me know down below. Some other things I should mention is I will also not be talking about series that I am continuing. So no Hybrid Helix, and also no Phased, none of the Thrice books, even though I've enjoyed all of those books. Though I will say to Tori, when's the sequel to Phased coming out? Because, man, I want that resolution. So, yeah, that's about it on that. So, a few honorable mentions. Like I said before, while I won't be bringing up standalones, I will mention While Darkness Gathers by Philip Chase, because I do want to get to that book before too long. Just some other stuff is getting in the way. Also, my friend Olivia J. Elliott's books, I would like to get to them before too long. They're not necessarily series yet, but they are getting there, and I am actually hoping to read The Genesis of Change before too long. So, don't worry, Olivia. I'm hoping to get to that soon. Just need to get to a couple of other books out of the way before I get into all of that. And beyond that, I don't think there's any more prep I need to do for this specific video, so let's get into it. I should also note before I get into this won't be any specific order. These are just the series that have really caught my attention as of late because of, as I mentioned before, rather it be because of word of mouth, or I already know these people, or I have already talked to these people and they've really sold me on their series, and so on. So, yeah, hopefully I will be getting onto that. And also, I don't own a lot of the books that I'll be talking about today, and the ones that I do, I will hold up. So don't worry about that if you're curious about that. So, okay, without any further ado, let's get into it. The first series I'm going to be talking about is the Land of Exile series by one J.L. Odom, a fellow Okie, I should note, and also the winner of Spiffbo. She won Spiffbo this year, if I recall right. Either that or she got tied with one of the other people who was going to be on this list. But yeah, I've heard a lot about Land of Exile from J.L. Odom. I've heard that she's a very talented writer. I heard she's very good with, like, very luscious prose and also really strong characterization. And also, what interests me the most about this, aside from just the word of mouth from people like Tori and Andrew and a few other people, I'm also really interested in the background setting, because as I've noted before, I am always looking for fantasy that is a bit outside of the box, and I find that indie fantasy is a really good place where you can find that, because, you know, a lot of publishers might not take on something that is unusual as some of the books that I'll be talking about here today. So, yeah, but with the Land of Exile, I am really hoping to, but with the Land of Exile, I really like that it's very much a different setting. I like the Islamic-inspired setting, if I remember right. Arabic is probably a better term. The Arabic-inspired setting, if J.L. Odom watches this, she can feel free to correct me in the comments section. But I am quite fascinated with that. But just from all the buzz I've heard from people like Tori and Andrew and a couple of other people who have really liked this, and the fact that it actually won Spiffbo this year has really captured my attention. That's really a series that I would like to jump on in the near future, because it sounds like it could be a really interesting time. And also, J.L. Odom is a fellow Okie, so, you know, I gotta represent. I have to support fellow Okies when they're actually doing well, because we don't have a lot of quality writers out here in Oklahoma. I mean, I bet we do, but I don't know about a lot of them, aside from, like, Woody Guthrie and M. Scott Momaday and, like, S.E. Hinton. But, you know, that's not bad competition. But, you know, nonetheless, we need some more quality writers out of Oklahoma. And J.L. Odom might be one of the people who will lead the charge for great Oklahoma literature, or great Oklahoma writers, I should say. I don't think this book is specifically about Oklahoma by any means of the imagination. But, yeah. Land of Exile by J.L. Odom. I'm sorry if that was a bad explanation, but hoping this is good. I really do want to read this series at some point, because I really think this series has promise. I've liked what I've heard about it so far, and I'm also really hoping that it will live up to the hype whenever I get around to it, because, you know, I want to read good books, believe it or not. I might be critical and, like, kind of hipsterish sometimes, but I want to read good books, you know? Like, that's what I want to do. So, there you go. Next series I'll be talking about is kind of a BookTube darling as of this point, but it's one I have heard about everywhere. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I haven't gotten it yet. I haven't read anything about it, or, well, I have, but I haven't really gotten it yet. I have said I'm going to read it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet because of that J.R.R. Tolkien quote I said earlier. But that series is The Riverfall Chronicles by Jacqueline Hagan. This series has been frickin' everywhere. Everybody that I know, well, maybe not everybody, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but many people that I know have told me, oh my God, Britton, you have to check out the Riverfall Chronicles. I think you're gonna like it. Oh my God, Britton, this series is like melted butter. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, okay, yeah, this sounds cool. Like, what's it about? And it's very much a Dickens-esque adventure, from what I've heard, about a young boy trying to make it in this very strange fantasy world. Well, slap me in the face, I'm in. I really would enjoy reading this series. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And Jacqueline Hagan seems like a pretty cool person. She seems like she's lived a very interesting life from the sounds of it. And I've seen several of her interviews with people like John Minton and Tori and a few other people that I've seen in the past. So, yeah, unfortunately, I just haven't gotten to her series yet. I would really love to get to the Riverfall Chronicles at some point, but I just haven't really gotten around to it yet because, you know, like I said before, he who reads must choose. And, you know, I read a bunch of mainstream books out there, so it's kind of hard for me to find the time to read some indie books. Though I have made the time. I have read some indie books, but I'm hoping to read more of them. And that's why I am making this video here. But anyway, Riverfall Chronicles. Really hoping that this series is good, because it has a lot of things that really appeal to me as a reader. I love Dickensian stuff. I love unconventional fantasy. I love the gas lamp stuff, like, you know, Perdido Street Station. one of my favorite fantasy novels of all time. And The Scar's really good, too. And also, I've heard it be compared to Liza Locke-Lamora, which I also just absolutely love with all my being. So, yeah, the Riverfall Chronicles seems like it would be a series that would just really connect with me personally as a reader, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet, and I've been slapping myself over it. I'm like, Britton, you gotta get to this book at some point soon. So, hopefully, sometime in the near future, I don't know when it's going to be, but sometime in the near future, I will get around to reading the Riverfall Chronicles. It has a lot of things that I really enjoy, so I'm hoping that it'll be good. I've heard it be compared to Oliver Twist, which is one of my favorite books of all time, as you've probably seen in my top 20 video that I did a while back. But yeah, Riverfall Chronicles, Jacqueline Hagan, really hoping to enjoy this series when I get to it. And from what I've heard about it, I think I might. So, just getting that out there. Moving on. Next pick I have here is actually from a good friend of mine, a friend of the channel, someone who I've known for a bit now, and I've had him on my podcast, and he's just a cool dude. And that is, and I actually recently got a advanced reader copy from him about a few months back, but this just recently came out about 4 days ago as of the recording of this video, and that is the Mercy series by Chance Dillon. I haven't picked up this book yet because, again, I've just been reading a lot of other books that have really been taking up a lot of my time. But, yeah, aside from the fact that I think Chance is a great guy, and I've enjoyed hanging out with him the times I've hung out with him, this seems like a really interesting series from the sounds of it. I do remember I did read some chapters from it, and I remember liking them. I did have my complaints and gripes, but I did enjoy what I read of it, and I'm really hoping that once I get to this, I hope it's going to be good. And I also really like that Chance is very engaged. He really cares about the craft of writing. He really wants to make it as good as possible, and I always enjoy writers who are very passionate about the craft. I mean, there are some writers I've met who, and I've been guilty of this myself, so I'm not trying to, say I'm better than anyone, who just kind of wing it, if you will. People who just are so naturally gifted at it, they don't always think about the practical necessities that come with being a writer. Chance is not one of those people. He really likes getting into the, how does this work? How do I make this as effective as possible? And with that in mind, I do hope that Mercy, the Mercy series, I don't know what else you call it. Chance, let me know down in the comments below. I really would like to read this at some point because Chance, like I said, really cares about the process, if you will, and he wants to do it well. And someone who cares that much about how good about making his book as good as possible, I think makes this series worth a read. And the next book I hear is coming out next year, so hopefully that works out. Shay was telling me about this series, and a couple other people, like John Minton, and a few other people have been telling me about it. So, yeah, hoping the series is good. Chance, don't let me down, because it would really suck if I picked up this book and it just didn't connect with me. So, yeah. Also, great fantasy map, too. I mean, let me just show you guys real quick. Look at the fantasy map. It looks really good. I think it's by the same guy who did a Phillips fantasy map, as a matter of fact. So, yeah. He also signed it. Look at that. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Look, he signed it. It's a signature. Kind of looks like squiggly lines, but it's a signature. He also wrote me a little nice note. So, thank you, man. I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate it quite a bit. I was not paid to say this, by the way. It's just I hope to read the series at some point. So, yeah. There you go. Next series that I'm hoping to get to at some point is another one, kind of like the Riverfall Chronicles, that just has a lot of things that personally just really get me going as a reader, and that is the Hoffman Report series by Adrian M. Gibson, which also got a lot of buzz. I think he actually won second place in SPIFBO this year. I think it was J.L. Odom who won. He just was kind of the runner-up, which unfortunate. But this book, though, this series, it's only had one book so far called Mushroom Blues that has kind of made the rounds on the internet. But I've talked with Adrian Gibson. He's a cool guy. And he also just puts a lot of stuff in the series that really appeals to me. Noir? Check. Weird sci-fi? Check. strange creatures, double, triple, quadruple check. Comparisons to some of my favorite authors like Philip K. Dick and Jeff Vandermeer and China Mieville, just check all the way. This series just feels specifically made for me, and I'm really hoping that I can get to Mushroom Blues before too long, because I think that Adrian is a cool guy, and also the series that I am in this book also has a lot of things that really connect with me personally as a reader. Stuff that just really, I like this. I wanna see this. I wanna grasp it. I don't know why I'm doing that, but I'm really hoping that the Hoffman Report, Mushroom Blues, whatever you want to call it, I hope it's going to be really good. And I've heard some good things from people like I think Tudor Ramble, I know, really enjoyed it. Or at least I think Richard did. Austin was kind of mixed on it. I've heard a couple of other people who've really enjoyed it. I think Bibliotheory really liked it a lot. But yeah, I'm really hoping to get to the Hoffman Report series. I'm hoping to get to Mushroom Blues before too long because, again, just has a lot of stuff that just personally connects to me as a reader and also as a consumer of entertainment. So I'm really hoping that the Hoffman Report books, whenever it becomes a second book, but Mushroom Blues in particular, I hope that it will be something that I will take to because I really like where this is going, and I'm hoping that I will enjoy it. It sounds like I've already read Mushroom Blues. I haven't read Mushroom Blues yet, but I'm hoping to get to it. So, yeah, there you go. These are kind of like I said before with the Riverfall Chronicles. Just has stuff that really connects with me personally, and I'm hoping that Adrian Gibson can pull it off because I do think we need some quality weird fiction in the indie fantasy sphere because a lot of people are just content to kind of just regurgitate what is already there. But luckily, Adrian seems to not be doing that, and I'm really hoping that this book will spread and will create a kind of movement where more weird, out there fantasy and science fiction will be put out for the world to see. So, yeah, it was kind of hard to put this in here because I wasn't sure if this was technically a fantasy or if it was a science fiction novel. So I decided to put it because it does take place in a secondary world. So I decided that it counts as fantasy. So here it is. So yeah, here we go. Another series I'm hoping to get to before too long is the Conspiracy of Crows series by Matthew Zorich. I think that's how you pronounce it, Zorich. If he watches this, you can feel free to let me know down below if I got it wrong or anything. But I got interested in this series because I absolutely love colonial history. And I find that colonial history, kind of Revolutionary War, Napoleonic era, that kind of thing, is often overlooked in fantasy. I find there could be a really rich setting, as a matter of fact, to be found in the Revolutionary period or the Puritan period. Not tooting my own horn, because that's what I'm writing about at the moment, but that's neither here or there. It really is kind of cool to see a series that is kind of basically the fantasy equivalent, from what I've noticed anyway, of the American Revolution. And the first book of this series is literally called Bastards for Liberty, which sounds great. I really hope that this is not false advertisement, and this is very much takes place in that kind of flintlock colonial era, because I do think that the colonial period is kind of an overlooked period that could be used in fantasy literature and is just not for whatever reason. I'm sure it exists out there, but I haven't seen it. And, I know Flintlock fantasy is a thing, but I just haven't really gotten around to it yet. And from what I've heard about Flintlock fantasy, I know a lot of it is more inspired by, like, Napoleonic era than, say, the American Revolution. This seems like the American Revolution as a fantasy series, and that just sounds really awesome to me, and I really want to get into it. So, Matthew Zorich, don't let me down, because I'm adding your book to my list of books that I'm hoping to get to before too long. I want the American Revolution in fantasy, damn it. That's what I want. So, you better not be false advertising me. I'm going to give it a frickin' 1-star review. I'm just kidding, by the way. I wouldn't do that. But, you heard me. Okay, next series I'm going to be talking about is actually from one that I already mentioned before. I really enjoyed her book, Phase, which is a fantastic book. I really enjoyed it a lot. But I've decided to take on her epic fantasy series, Legends of the Bruhai by one Tori Tekken. I really like Tori's style. She has a very visceral, emotional, very no kidding way of talking about very difficult topics without seeming tasteless. I mean, she's not, James Elroy or Marlon James where she's just like going into the like smell and sensation, but she's very good at explaining the very unfiltered emotional toll of trauma, and I really enjoy that. And Legends of the Bruhai just sounds like a really cool concept. This kind of just the concept from what I've heard from Tori sounds really neat, and of course the word of mouth from people like Andrew and also I think John read it. There have been a couple of other people who've really enjoyed Tori's books. I think Philip has read it. I don't actually. You know what? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I might have jumped the gun there, but I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it. And I also like, kind of like with The Land of Exile, I like that it is not just regurgitating more common fantasy tropes. From what I've heard, The Legends of the Bruhai is kind of a riff on Asian-inspired fantasy, which is really cool, because that's not really explored a lot. A lot of what we're used to is basically European pseudo-medieval type of fantasy stories. And it's really neat to see Tori kind of trying to do something different and exploring stuff that is not that, I should say. And I really would like to see where this series goes. There's only one book out right now, but I haven't read it yet. I'm hoping to read it soon. Again, he who reads must choose. I'm gonna say that until someone gets it. But yeah, I really enjoyed Phased. I hope that she brings the same energy that she had with Phased into the Legends of the Bruhai series, because Phased was really, really good, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I really hope that she brings that energy, that emotional rawness that I really enjoyed in that series. Though I imagine it is different, so don't get mad at me and say it's not the same thing. I get that. But I do hope that she implements what she's already done in Phased and brings it to Legends of the Bruhai and make it a very emotionally engaging read. Because, again, I think Tori is very good at explaining the just very raw, unfiltered, this is what this feels like. I hope she brings that here. And also, again, just, it just sounds really cool. I really like the concept of the kid witnessing this execution that he wasn't supposed to see, and it's this kind of weird thing. I'm really hoping to get to it. So, yeah, Legends of the Bruhai. Yeah. So let's move on. Next series is one from another friend of mine, good guy. I read one of his books called The Legend of Blackjack, which I read 2023, I believe, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun series. I really liked how it was very much a throwback to a lot of stuff that I grew up reading, like The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Oliver Twist, though I don't think Jack Swift is as wily as Tom Sawyer or as naive as Oliver Twist can be. But the books I'm talking about today are the Locke Institute series from A.R. Witham, a good friend of mine. I really enjoyed The Legend of Blackjack. I really enjoyed that kind of throwback, that throwback vibe that he had. But I also enjoyed that he didn't necessarily settle with a particular fantasy trope or tradition that we know, such as the epic fantasy or the sword and sorcery tradition of fantasy or urban fantasy. It is a secondary world for sure, but it does do kind of its own thing, and I always appreciate that. This book is about one of the characters in that story. This series, I should say, is about one of the characters in The Legends of Blackjack, Rooker Flynn, as he goes on his merry band of adventures. I think this takes place after The Legend of Blackjack, or maybe it takes place before, not quite sure. So, Andy, if you watch this, let me know down below. I'm just going to take another drink. My mouth is dry. Oh, man. So, yeah, I really hope that he brings what he already brought, that sense of adventure, that sense of camaraderie that I really enjoyed in The Legend of Blackjack, and also that sense of whimsy. I really like the whimsy in the Legend of Blackjack, because it's a really, I think whimsy is a big part of fantasy, and A.R. Witham captures that very well. Andy captures that very well, I should say, because, I know him. So, yeah, he's a good guy. Anyway, I don't know if this is a trilogy or not, but there's 3 books out right now, and I think it's a trilogy. I generally stick with trilogies more than, like, these big epic long series, so I'll probably get to this before too long. So, yeah, so Locke Institute series sounds really fun. Rooker Flynn series, I should say, is probably what it's called. And, well, hoping to get to it before too long, and it's not really much else to say aside from that. So, yeah, Locke Institute by A.R. Witham. Hopefully I'll get to it. Let's move on to the next one. The next one, which is the second to last one I'll be talking about today on my 10 indie fantasy series I'm hoping to get to, it's by another friend of mine, good friend, Tim McKay, who I've had on my podcast a few times, and he's also just a cool guy. We've talked about a good many of topics, and after I talked with him about what he was writing about, he really sold me on his series, and that is the Draymere Chronicles. He just recently put out the first book, the revised edition, because he had 2 books, and then he's like, yeah, that wasn't good enough, and then he got rid of them, and then he wrote this new book that he put out. But kind of like what I mentioned with A Conspiracy of Crows earlier, I was quite intrigued by this series because Tim mentioned that this is very much a flintlock colonial-inspired fantasy, and that really perked my ears because, again, I do think that flintlock fantasy, or the kind of colonial fantasy is what I like to call it, is kind of underrepresented in fantasy. I mean, I know Brian McKellen is kind of doing his thing with that concept, but I'm really hoping that this series is good. So, yeah. I haven't really heard too much about it. I know a couple people have covered it. I think Mike Molman and the Roscoe, I think is the guy's name. I probably butchered that. I'm really sorry. From Bold and Bolding. I think they've covered it. I think a couple of other people have read the new book from Tim. I think Kay from Kay's Hidden Shelf has talked about it on her channel. So, yeah, I haven't heard too much, though, but from what Tim has told me, it does sound like something that I would really like, because, again, I think that the flintlock fantasy genre, if you want to call it that, colonial fantasy, is kind of underrepresented in fantasy, and I do want to give Tim some props, because I like Tim. He's a good dude, and he's a very smart dude. He also has his own show. The name's blanking on me at the moment, but I really like what he has going on his side of the internet. So, yeah, I'm really hoping to get to this. There's only 1 book out right now, so hopefully I'll get to it before too long, and I won't really say too much more about it. Tim, keep up the good work, and hopefully I'll get to your book at some point. So, yeah, moving on. Next one, which is the penultimate pick, is Gifts of the Aldtree series by E.L. Lyons. I have talked with her a few times. I've had her on my podcast, and she's just a very, very sweet person. And this is very much an interesting series for me because I've heard it's kind of in that sort of weird fantasy thing. There's like tree people, which is where the tree smut jokes were coming from. I didn't quite capture that at first until I actually talked with her. I'm like, oh, that's where it came from. But I don't want to spoil the podcast. That's going to be coming out in a few weeks. But Gifts of the Aldtree sounds really cool because it has a lot of stuff that I like, the kind of weird fantasy vibe. And I also like that the political intrigue sounds really cool, which I should note, there's political intrigue apparently in a lot of these series, like Mercy and Legend of the Brewhigh. So I'm really hoping to get to that. But I'm also hoping to get to Gifts of the Aldtree before too long. Because apparently it's also about like tree people and like regular humans, and there's also like these hybrid tree people and human people, because the tree people and the human people, they like bang, and they've made like this is just going off the rails, but there's going to be like a lot of politicking with the tree people, and there's also apparently some spice. And she has said this isn't quite romantasy, so I mean I'm not saying this is romantasy, but I would like to I would like to read this, because I do hear there is some romance in there. I do hear there's a lot of intrigue in this series. So, and from what I've heard from people who've read it, I think Kay's Hidden Shelf has read this series, so I think she really liked it. But I'm really hoping to get to this, because, you know, again, kind of like what I said with Adrian Gibson's book series, there isn't a lot of weird fantasy out there, and after the new weird movement kind of just came and went, there's kind of a hole for that. I do think there is a palatable market for that in the indie fantasy sphere. I mean, it kind of fizzled out in traditional publishing. Why not try it in the fantasy sphere? Also, I'm really trying to get her to try Bazlag, because I just, from what she was telling me, I think she would really enjoy that series. So if there's anything that is even remotely like Bazlag out there that is in the indie sphere, I am going to check it out. So E.L. Lyons, hopefully I'll check out your series, Gifts of the Old Tree. And from the sounds of it, it sounds pretty cool. I'm hoping to get to it. Apparently there is some spice, and generally I don't read a lot of like romance stuff, but I am hoping that this series will prove a change for me. So yes, Gifts of the Old Tree by E.L. Lyons. Hoping this will be good. I guess I should move on to the last book, the book that I'll be talking about today. Last series, I should say. The last series that I'll be talking about that I hope to get to before too long is one by a writer I've become quite friendly with as well. Most of these writers I've talked with. I think Matthew Zorich is the only one that I haven't at least interacted with. Also Jacqueline Hagan. I haven't met Jacqueline Hagan yet. But most of these people I have been friendly with, and I would like to check out their books because, you know, reasons. But the last book series I'll be talking about, and this is a bit more of a personal one for me because, well, I'll get into it once I get to the series. But it is the New World series by E.L. Montague, who's become a good friend of mine. He's out in Texas. So apparently he likes the Texas Tech Red Raiders, sorry. So, you know, he's not a Texas Longhorns fan, so I can deal with that. But this series is of particular interest to me because I am also writing a fantasy that takes place on a secondary world that is called, you guessed it, the New World. So, yeah, I've talked about this with EL a couple times, and I want to see if any of our ideas that we'll be talking about that I hope to do in my series and the one that he does in his series, I'm curious to see if they will intersect, because I would be completely screwed if I put out my book out there and people get mad and say I'm ripping off E.L. Montague's style. So, yeah, I want to see this series, and I want to see how it connects, if you will. I want to see how if it interlaps with anything that I'm hoping to do in my own series that takes place in the setting that I call the New World. But aside from that, I am also curious because kind of like why I wrote my series, and also some of the other series I've talked about here, colonial stuff really fascinates me. And also the idea of colonialism really fascinates me as a concept. The idea of the New World, if you will, hasn't really been covered in fantasy. Well, it seems that's what E.L. Montague is doing in this series, and I want to see how his approach will... I wonder how he will approach this, because I do think the idea of colonialism is a concept that... can bring a lot of interesting reactions. There's a lot of interesting drama that you can do there. And also, this is the only other book that I actually physically own, and also he gave me a nice note. So, thank you, E.L., if you'll watch this. So, here you go. He sent me a nice little letter right here. So, yeah, he said thanks for the support. He also sent me some of his other stuff back there, but this is the one that really interests me out of all of them because... again, I'm writing a series myself talking about similar topics of a new world, if you will, which is basically my riff on colonial America. And I want to see if E.L. Montague's ideas intersect with any of the ideas that I am hoping to do. Probably not, but I want to see just in case. And also, this actually sounds really fascinating. I want to see, it's the type of fantasy that I would like to read, if you will. It's probably not actually colonial like mine is, but, you know, we'll see how that goes. And, yeah, I'm really hoping that this book is good. And E.L. Montague, he's a good dude. Check him out. He's freaking hilarious as well. So, you know, you can find him on interviews. I've had him on my channel a couple times. And, yeah, I'm hoping that this series, in my series, don't interlap too much because, again, I would just be sick if someone goes, well, you ripped off E.L. Montague. And I'd go, no, I didn't, because I didn't even know him when I started this series. So, take it up with them. Anyway, so, yeah, this is my last series that I'm going to be talking about, the New World, if you will, the C-Word Secrets, which is the first book here, but it's part of the New World series. So, yeah, there you go. That's all I have for that. I need another drink. Well, so that's the end of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And any of the authors, if you want to chime in and offer corrections or comments or thanks, that's totally fine. Feel free because, again, I'm sure I didn't get everything right. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And, yeah, those are 10 indie fantasy series that I hope to read before too long. So, yeah, let's get to the ending of this, shall we? So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. You can also find me on social media. You can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I write reviews that are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. You can also find me on Instagram and also Blue Sky. I'm not using it too much, but I am starting to get the hang of it. So, yeah, like I said, like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. What are some indie series that you would like to start at some point? Maybe they interlap with mine. But hopefully, you guys have indie books and series that you would like to start. I'm going to try and keep it fantasy here because that's really what I covered today. But like I said before, if you want to see stuff about science fiction and horror, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Love hearing from you guys. And I like hearing stuff. And as John Minton likes to say, it feels good when you press that like, subscribe button and comment. I also like interacting with the community. So, yeah. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, see you guys later. Bye-bye.